everyone. Welcome back to Routine English Podcast.
We're so glad you could join us today. We have a great show lined up.
Welcome back to Routine English Podcast, the show where we dissect the invisible architecture of travel. Alex, I have a question that might sound mundane, but I think it holds the secret to modern anxiety.
Anxiety? At the airport? I'm already there. Hit me with it, Sophia. Is it the price of the watery $12 coffee?
Worse, it's the check-in desk. Have you ever truly stopped to consider why, in the age of biometric scans, blockchain, and instant verification, we still stand in that archaic line to hand a printed piece of paper to a human being who then types laboriously on a green screen?
That is a deeply unsettling thought. It's the ultimate friction point. It feels like a ceremonial gatekeeping ritual invented in 1985.
Precisely. That line, that moment of human interaction, isn't just about baggage tags. It's the last great theater of control in global mobility. It's where your digital self meets your physical self, and a gatekeeper decides if those two entities are congruent.
Okay, that's a powerful hook. But let's zoom out. Context. For the 2 minutes we're dedicating to this, convince me this isn't just about weight limits and dangerous goods declarations.
It's not. Think about the functions happening simultaneously. We see it as one step, check-in, but it's 3 steps layered onto one interaction. First, identity verification against a global watch list, the security layer. Second, inventory management, making sure the plane isn't overloaded and maximizing cargo space. Third, and most crucially, document compliance.
Document compliance. That's the killer, because my phone checked me in 5 days ago, yet I still have to prove I have the right visa for a connection I'm not even leaving the airport at.
Exactly. The airline doesn't want the financial and logistical nightmare of flying you across the Atlantic only for the destination country's immigration authorities to deny you entry. That fine is astronomical. The check-in agent is not an airline employee. They are an outsourced immigration officer for dozens of countries simultaneously.
Wait, so the airline staff are essentially border patrol for hire? That shifts the whole power dynamic. It explains the inherent tension in that interaction.
It does. And think about the tech they are using. It's called a departure control system, or DCS. These systems are often decades old, text-based, incredibly robust, and critically, universally interoperable across the 100 different regulatory bodies they deal with. They prioritize stability and compliance over user experience.
Right. So they haven't modernized because the regulatory framework is so complex and interconnected that introducing a sleek new interface risks a catastrophic global failure. It's a risk management decision, not a Luddite preference.
Precisely. Now let's get into the deep debate. I argue that the physical check-in is a necessary evil, a psychological and logistical anchor that keeps the system from spinning out of control.
I disagree completely. I think it's a failure of imagination. We can order bespoke microchips from Shenzhen and have them delivered in 48 hours, but we can't trust a digitally verified passport photo and an e-visa status pulled directly from the source government database.
But you're assuming all governments are digitally sophisticated and trustworthy. What about jurisdictions that rely heavily on physical stamps or paper attachments? The DCS must handle a refugee fleeing with a tattered paper document just as easily as a diplomat with a biometric passport.
That's a valid point about edge cases, but the 95% of standard travelers are suffering for the 5%. Why can't we split the streams? If I'm traveling on a common route with a digital passport, let me use the express biometric check-in kiosks.
We are starting to see that, Alex. But even the kiosks often require a human oversight loop, because the airline is also performing another task at that desk that few people realize: the assessment of intent.
Assessment of intent. What are they, psychics now?
Subconsciously, yes. The check-in agent is trained to spot distress, inconsistencies in luggage, an unusually light bag for a 3-week trip, or someone overly nervous about checking a small carry-on. That human interaction is the final low-tech surveillance layer.
That sounds incredibly subjective and potentially discriminatory. Are we seriously arguing that subjective human profiling is superior to AI-driven threat modeling? AI can cross-reference flight history and no-fly lists instantly.
AI handles the what, but the human agent handles the how. How are they behaving? Are they attempting to sneak forbidden items? Are they exhibiting signs of coercion? Remember, this system was solidified post 9/11, where human observation became paramount.
So we're trading efficiency for a marginal increase in subjective security theater. I feel like the check-in line is where optimization dies. Think about the economic cost of those queues globally, the wasted man-hours.
But what if the inefficiency is the point? The queue is a buffer. It manages the flow of people and allows for last-minute adjustments. If everyone could just waltz onto the plane instantly, the logistics of boarding, ground handling, and sequencing aircraft would become chaotic.
That's a fascinating, almost stoic defense of the queue. It's not a bug, it's a feature of managing entropy. But what about the bags? Why can't I check my bag seamlessly via RFID and simply get a notification?
You can get an RFID notification, but the DCS needs to know exactly where that bag is linked to your physical presence. Until you confirm your identity at the counter or the kiosk, that bag cannot be cleared to enter the system. The physical tag linkage remains critical for safety regulations.
It all loops back to regulation and liability then. The airline is minimizing its legal risk by insisting on this final manual verification step.
Exactly. They are protecting themselves from a multi-million-dollar fine or worse, a catastrophic security breach. That check-in agent, underpaid and exhausted, is carrying the liability of international law on their shoulders.
Okay, I concede the point that the complexity of international liability and disparate global regulatory systems currently necessitates some form of centralized, human-verified gateway.
Thank you, Alex. It's less about the technology and more about the geopolitical mess the technology has to navigate.
So we've established it's a necessary evil, but you promised a twist, a revelation that changes perspective. Give me the inside baseball that the average traveler misses.
The twist is not about the airline or the passenger. It's about the airplane itself. We think of the check-in as the start of our journey, but for the aircraft, it's the end of its pre-flight preparation. And the check-in cutoff time is deeply rooted in physics, not just bureaucracy.
Physics? You mean the weight distribution calculations?
Partially, but more specifically, the load sheet. The check-in cutoff, often 60 minutes before departure for international, isn't arbitrary. It's the absolute minimum time required for ground operations to generate the final weight and balance report.
I've heard of the load sheet. It's the critical document the pilot signs to confirm the plane is safe to fly. But what does my late check-in have to do with that?
Every checked bag, every passenger, has a calculated weight and position on the aircraft. Once check-in closes, the DCS feeds the final passenger and baggage counts. This data then gets combined with cargo, fuel, and catering weights to calculate the aircraft's center of gravity. If you check in 5 minutes late, that entire process is delayed. The calculation takes time, the physical loading and sorting takes time, and the crew needs time to review the final document. The check-in desk closing is the hard barrier that prevents catastrophic load distribution errors.
Wow. So that stern-faced check-in agent denying the latecomer isn't being cruel. They are enforcing a legal aeronautical hard stop. They are protecting the center of gravity.
Exactly. They are closing the door on data input so the engineers and load masters can safely calculate lift. That moment of tension at the desk is literally about ensuring the plane won't tail strike on takeoff or become unstable mid-flight.
That context is incredible. It transforms the whole experience from a personal annoyance into a moment of profound systemic responsibility. I always thought it was just about punctuality.
Punctuality is a byproduct of operational safety. The check-in desk is where human systems interface with rigid physical constraints.
So in conclusion, Sophia, what's the takeaway? Should we treat the check-in agent with more reverence, or should we still lobby for a more streamlined, less anxiety-inducing experience?
I think we should treat the check-in experience with more understanding. It is a necessary friction point where global law, digital identity, and aeronautical physics converge.
It's the final human safeguard against the chaos of mass travel.
Precisely. And while modernization will continue, biometrics, seamless bag tracking, the fundamental role of that desk as the moment of final compliance and weight confirmation will likely endure for decades.
So next time I'm in that line, I'll take a deep breath and appreciate that the person scanning my passport isn't just checking my luggage. They are certifying the structural integrity of the flight.
And remember, arrive early. Don't mess with the center of gravity. That's it for this week's Terminal Velocity. We'll see you next time.
Safe travels, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time on the Routine English Podcast.